Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. And if it's Tuesday and it's 1 o'clock, you know it's Facebook Live on the one. I'm your host today, Jimmy Smith. I'm a career navigator with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. I work out of the Northwest Career Center at Mondawmin Mall. I have the pleasure today of presenting a workshop with you with the manager of the Northwest Career Center, Antonio Logan. How are you today, Antonio?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jimmy?
Very good, very good. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everybody. The day's flying by already. It's great to be on with you guys. Hopefully today we're going to talk about some soft skills to make sure that everybody knows exactly what they are. We're still, of course, serving you guys, trying to get everybody back to work as soon as possible and give you any services that we can during this time. So great to be on.
Very good. And so we will show you how we can serve you guys a little later. I'll put up some information how you can contact us and we can help you with your employment needs. But as Mr. Logan spoke of, we're going to talk about soft skills. So as we're ready to get back into the job world, soft skills are one of those hidden gems, those little tidbits that you're going to need that's going to place you above everyone else and help you get these job opportunities. So as Mr. Logan mentioned, all of our centers are currently closed, but we're still working. We're working remotely, technology willing. And while we have this pandemic, believe it or not, employers are still hiring. And so we post these job leads in various places. I particularly email the job leads out at the end of the week. If you want to receive job leads, you can request them from me by sending me an email to jobclubnwcc@oedworks.com. And I'll make sure that I will stuff your inbox with dozens of job leads on a weekly basis. We're also still posting our jobs on the Maryland Workforce Exchange. The Maryland Workforce Exchange is our state-based site. It kind of works like Indeed, where it's a clearinghouse site where employers will go online and post a bunch of jobs that they're recruiting for. There's a lot of resources available on the Maryland Workforce Exchange, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about the Maryland Workforce Exchange in a second. But there's the website here, mwejobs.maryland.gov, and you can go in and look for job leads there. And in addition to that, we have what we're calling our Now Hiring Job Board, which is off of our Mayor's Office of Employment Development website. So that's the address there. That's a picture of what the site looks like. These are jobs that we have employers that are hiring immediately despite the pandemic. And what I like about that site is that in addition to the job leads that are posted are listings of my colleagues who's actually doing the recruitment for these jobs. So what I say a lot of times is getting hired isn't always what you know, it's who you know. And this is a great way to get to know the people who are recruiting for these jobs, and hopefully they can kind of give you a leg up and help you with these job opportunities. And so as I mentioned, there's a bunch of jobs. These are just a smattering of the jobs that are listed there. Compassionate Healthcare Nursing is looking for registered nurses, LPNs, CNAs. Waste Management is looking for diesel mechanics, and senior diesel mechanics. They're always looking for diesel mechanics. 3 Tech Staffing is looking for filling operator and general factory workers and line leaders. Tokoff is looking for blenders, second shift line leaders, and second shift maintenance mechanics. ShopRite is looking for bakery clerks, cashiers, deli clerks, cake decorators. I mean, it's just a small list of some of the jobs. There are dozens of jobs listed on there, and those jobs get updated daily. So if you've ever been to that COVID board in the past and said, oh, there was nothing there for me that day, I would go back and look, and I would keep looking on a daily basis because those jobs change regularly. And then in addition, I mentioned the Maryland Workforce Exchange. This is our state-based site. There's all kinds of things listed there. You can find jobs. You can create a search agent that will look for jobs for you and then email them to you. It'll tell you the requirements of the job, so that way you can update your resume to let the employer know that you have the skills they're looking for. They'll show you how to apply for jobs, that you can apply directly through them. you can post your resume on there. And so when employers call me and say, "Hey, Jimmy, I need a diesel mechanic," I go to the Maryland Workforce Exchange and I look for people who have posted their resumes who are diesel mechanics. So it is very helpful. We, as job developers in the industry, utilize it to help our employers. And so that's a great place for you to be so that we can find you. So the site was listed down there. I would go on and register. It takes like maybe 7 to 10 minutes to do a full registration. You can attach your resume to your account, and then hopefully somebody like me can find you and match you with a job. And so just real quick about that, the real easy way to do that, you create a profile. You can build a resume or you can attach a resume, and then you can search for jobs. And then once you do a job search, you can save that job search as a search agent, and it'll continue to look for jobs that meet the criteria that you set, and they'll mail them to you. So it's very easy, 3 quick steps, and you're up and running, and you've got job leads coming into your inbox.
That was some great information, Jimmy. Please make sure you guys go to those websites and utilize the features, especially on MWE. We're trying our best to push that and make sure that everyone knows exactly what's offered and how you can access those benefits. The next piece we want to talk about, and we've talked about it for the last few months. Hopefully you guys have heard about it by now and that you've researched it. But if you haven't, there's still some opportunities available. So we're, of course, still working with the Baltimore Health Corps for some community health workers and other positions as well. They are planning to employ more than 300, and the last number that I heard, it was closer to 400 actually, for some of these positions. So it's really a really great program, and they're still going through some of these postings. So make sure that if you have not applied, that you go ahead and apply. That website that you can go to is showing up at the bottom of the screen. So make sure that you go there. If you or someone that you know might be interested, it's a really good opportunity, short-term opportunity, but there are some systems in place to make sure that after this is over, you're entered into a long-term employment opportunity. And next, there's also a contact tracer opportunity as well. If you are unemployed and a Baltimore City resident, you can possibly qualify for this opportunity for a contact tracer. If you don't have the experience needed for a contact tracer position, that's perfectly fine, because we'll enter you into a short-term training, and after that short-term training, you'll go right into this contact tracer position. So even if you feel like you don't necessarily have the skills to do this particular job, make sure that you apply to that assistance request link at the bottom, and we will make sure that we find out if you meet the criteria and possibly get you into the short-term training so that you can start working as a contact tracer. So many opportunities available. Don't feel like you're stuck somewhere or there's nothing out there. There are so many opportunities available. Just make sure that you make yourself aware of those opportunities.
Very good points. And whether you're in healthcare or not, this could be an opportunity for you. So if you're looking for some work, this is a great opportunity to try to get into.
So today, of course, Jimmy already talked about it a little bit earlier. We are here to talk about soft skills. First, I know you're asking yourself, what are soft skills? That's an important question. Mostly, they're referred to as interpersonal skills. You hear folks talk about them that way. They're character traits. So things that make up who you are, really talking about more who you are than what you know. A lot of times when we look at skills, we ask someone, what do you know? What can you do? And soft skills aren't necessarily what you know or what you can do. They're more who are you at your core. Some of the distinct differences between soft skills and what folks refer to as hard skills. Hard skills, you can measure, that ability. You can lift a certain amount of pounds. You can, you can type a certain amount of words per minute. Those are measurable abilities. technical skills. You know how to run certain machinery. You know, you're qualified in this particular field. Those are technical and measurable abilities. But soft skills many times can't be measured. You can't measure someone's, emotional intelligence. You can't measure their ability to communicate effectively with someone. You can't measure their ability to problem solve. These are the types of skills that we're going to be talking about today. And hopefully after this is over, you'll not only have a better idea of what they are, but how you can improve the skills that you have.
And more about more than just improve, how you can showcase them to employers so that they can get a glimpse of who you are. Uh, so why invest in soft skills? What's the big deal? Well, here's the big deal. 93% of the US employers say soft skills are weighed more heavily when looking at job candidates than the candidate's academic credentials. That is important because I work with a lot of employers, um, and employers know that they've got to train you. I'll give you a perfect example. I used to run a forklift certification class, and I would pay for guys to get certified to operate various forklifts, and I would send them to employers. And what would employers do? Retrain them on the forklift, even though they came in the door with a certification. But employers want to train them on how they execute those hard skills. And so, what's important, what they can't teach most people, is teamwork, is problem solving, is how to handle conflict. And so those are the soft skills. That's what's so important. So employers are, especially today, more interested in who you are with your soft skills than your hard skills because they have some type of training mechanism in place. You heard Mr. Logan talk a second ago about the contact tracer position, right? So what they will do is they will train you how to do that job. People don't. This is all new. This pandemic, COVID-19, we didn't have contact tracers before, so everybody is learning this on the fly. This is completely new to everyone. What they want you to have are the soft skills because no one has time to train the soft skills. They can train you on the hard skills. So the ability to make decisions, solve problems, and communicate effectively with diverse groups of people were among those qualities most prized by employers. So these skills will help you in all aspects of life, in addition to just on your job. You can use this in your personal life, in your interactions with people you know, people you don't know, family members, friends. And so soft skills are very good. And this exercise, I hope, will help you to evolve those skills.
Jimmy, you made some great points. One of the things that when I got my first job in high school, the manager who interviewed me, he said, I can teach you how to do this job. That's easy, but I don't have enough time with you to teach you how to be a good person. And so that's really what this boils down to. What type of person are you? An employer can teach you, they figure out how to train someone and make sure that they can actually do the job, but can they teach you how to actually be, a positive impact on their team and someone that other folks want to work with?
All good points.
So some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So make sure that you remember some of these terms. We're going to talk about adaptability, your ability to adapt to a situation, how you handle change. We're going to talk about leadership, how you display leadership and how you show that you're a leader. You don't have to actually have the title of a manager or supervisor or a leader to show leadership. Folks want to see you display leadership in whatever position you're in right now. We're going to talk about communication, how you communicate, whether that's verbal, nonverbal communication, body language, how you communicate that way, communicating, via email, things like that. We'll talk about teamwork as well, how you work in a team. Teamwork is many times inevitable. Even in a virtual setting, you still have to work as a team. Displaying teamwork, make sure that you're pulling your weight so that everyone else isn't having to carry what they carry and your side up the hill. We'll talk about time management, how you manage your time. How are you planning your day to make sure that you hit everything that's important that you need to get out of the way. We know, things pop up and emergencies happen here or there, but you should make sure that you've got a schedule in place, a plan in place to make sure that you are managing your time effectively. And lastly, we'll talk about problem solving, which is one of the biggest pieces on here. How do you handle issues that come your way, so that you don't have to carry them to the next level or to your supervisor? How do you solve problems yourself?
So we're going to break these down a little bit and go into a little detail. So let's start right up at the top with adaptability. And so what I will tell everyone, especially in 2020, is that change is inevitable. Think of how much our lives have changed over the past 6 months. And so how willing are you, or how open are you to learn new things, to do things differently? Before, we would do a workshop like this in front of 30 people. And now we do it virtually, through my laptop. How willing and able are you to make those changes? How willing are you to take on new challenges? Because change happens, and employers respect people who are on the forefront of adapting to these changes and going with the flow. And there's nothing worse than someone who is set in their ways and they've done it, this way for X number of years, and that's all they're willing to do. That's not valuable to an employer. You got to be willing to change things up, take on new challenges, and do things differently than they've done in the past. And so you have to adjust to suit transitions or changes. Like I said, this has just been a weird year. Wearing masks in the grocery store is just, it's strange, right? You don't know if anybody is smiling at you or scowling at you behind that mask. These are adapting is just, again, we mentioned these soft skills will also move into your personal life and help you. How do you adapt? Are you one of those people that don't want to wear a mask in a store or in a restaurant? You have to wear them. That's just how it is. Adapting is just what people expect. And employers, they want a crew, a staff of people who can adapt and make changes, because the only constant in life is change.
Exactly, Jimmy. And looking at adaptability, so how can you improve your ability to adapt? How can you improve your ability to be adaptable? First, you have to make sure that you change your thought process. Let go of the "well, that's how we've always done it" mentality. Jimmy just talked about that. So make sure that you don't always have to think that because something's always been done a certain way, it has to be done that way. You need to force yourself to take risks. Make sure that you understand that little progress is made without risk. There's always some risk involved when there's an opportunity to get to improve, to do better, even to make more money. Whenever you invest in, stocks, bonds, or anything like that, they always tell you that there is a risk involved. So make sure that you're able to take risk and force yourself to take risks. Encourage others to be open-minded, right? Encourage those around you, those that you come in contact with, to be open-minded, to think differently. Be that voice in the room that's, okay, to say, hey, let's think about this a different way. One of the best ways that you can develop an open mind is to encourage other folks to do the same, because you think on the other side of the topic. And then lastly, embrace learning. You've got to make sure that you understand that you are never done learning. There's always going to be an opportunity for you to learn and improve yourself. So you've got to make sure that you embrace learning in every aspect.
Yeah, you talk about encouraging others to be open-minded. That kind of goes into our next topic, which is leadership, and that's what you want to do. Employers like people who can make their jobs easier. And and you don't have to be a manager or a supervisor, as Antonio discussed earlier, to be a leader. A lot of times, an employer will see you in a leadership role and then promote you to a leader, to a supervisor, to a manager, because they can recognize that you have leadership skills. And there's nothing wrong with being a leader on your job without having that title. It just helps galvanize the team when you're also speaking the same language as management without management being there. So you set a strong example. You know, if you got a coworker who's coming to work late, maybe you can talk to them before management gets to them. management gets to them, it's probably not going to be so good. But then nobody's going to want to hear you talk about somebody coming to work on time if you don't show to work on time. So you have to set a strong example of how to be a good employee, being proactive and present. Um, seeing things that are coming down the road. Maybe you've got a little bit of experience. It's like, man, if this happens, then this will be the result. And so just trying to be proactive and seeing things before management comes in. If you see a piece of trash, pick it up. Don't wait for management to come and say, hey, pick up the trash, right? Uh, uh, Jobs, employers, supervisors, they love that. They love people who are proactive and present. Deliver superior performance. That goes without saying. Again, if you want people to follow your lead, you've got to set that example. You've got to be a good worker. You don't talk bad about management. You don't talk bad about other people. Just come to work and deliver superior performance, and it'll be recognized, especially when you do it on a consistent basis. If you're good on Monday and then Tuesday you're late, and then when it's just, that's not a leader. You have to consistently be at the forefront of the team, and your coworkers will recognize it, and they'll follow you again without you having to have the title of supervisor. And when those supervisory opportunities come up, your team might be the ones to promote you for that job. So that it always helps to be a leader in any aspect of life. Again, personal life, professional life, within your family, amongst your friends. It's great to be a leader.
You're exactly correct, Jimmy. And talking about leadership, so how do we then improve on those skills, right? So you've got to make sure, again, that you're actively seeking and giving constructive feedback. A lot of folks, one of the biggest issues is that they hate when someone criticizes them. And you've got to stop looking at these moments as moments of criticism, but moments where someone is giving you feedback that is constructive, meaning that you can build off of. So you can build off of what they tell you and change maybe your course of action to be a little bit better. Next, you want to make sure that you take initiative. Jimmy talked about this a little bit. Instead of seeing that coworker who continues to come in late, take the initiative to go and seek them out, talk to them, say, "Hey, I noticed you've been late a little bit. If I noticed it, I know someone else noticed it. So you may want to watch that. Try to get here a little bit earlier next time." Talking to them, making sure that you're preparing yourself to have conversations like that, because when you're in a leadership role, you're going to have tough conversations and difficult conversations. And so you want to make sure that the first time that you have one of those conversations is not when you have that leadership title.
Definitely. You're talking about actively seeking and giving constructive feedback. It's better to ask for that feedback than to get it unsolicited. Now, maybe that's just me, right? But I would prefer, and I think it will be better to handle if you go and ask your boss, your supervisor, hey, what do you think about this job that I'm doing? Or how do you think I can do things better? As opposed to them coming and tapping you on the shoulder and telling you these things.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And that actually leads to the next thing, which is communication.
True, very true. Communication. It's so important.
So communication, and as Antonio mentioned, there's all forms of communication, and they all count. They all matter. Effective and active listening, and then how do you express yourself, and using the appropriate method of communication and the time for it. Being clear and concise about what you're trying to say and the point that you're trying to get across. Again, in any relationship in life, as I've mentioned, all of these things spill over in your personal life. Communication, if you've got a mate, if you've got children, if you got friends or family, communication amongst them is just so vitally important. So all of these things factor in. How well do you listen to what people say? How well do you communicate your ideas to them? And do you do it in the right method? That all of those things will not only help you on the job, but also help you in your personal life.
Exactly, Jimmy. Improving these communication skills, making sure that you practice active listening. Active listening is when you actually pay close attention to what someone is saying and you're asking questions to clarify, make sure that you actually get what they're saying, rephrasing what they're saying to make sure that you understand, and actually listening to understand. A lot of times we listen to respond and not to understand. Listening to say, okay, so what do I need to say back, instead of listening to really understand what they're saying and where they're coming from. Uh, it's important that we're respectful in communication. Jimmy talked about this a little bit just now. It's so important that you remember that you're speaking with another person who has feelings, who may have had a bad day, who may have, been dealing with some other issues already. And so it's really important that you are respectful in your communication. And you can do this simply by using someone's name, making eye contact, and being mindful of your tone and your volume. One of the issues that I have a problem with sometimes is that my family, we're loud talkers. We just speak loudly. It's just what we do. If you walked up to our house, you would think that we were in there arguing, but we're actually just talking. We just speak very loudly. The volume in our voice it's just pretty loud, and so we have to make sure that we watch that when we're talking with people, outside of our home, at work, because even though we are so used to speaking loudly, everyone else kind of sees that and they take that as being aggressive. And so that can come off as being disrespectful. Another piece is you got to make sure that you are being understood. It's not your responsibility to blame the other person for not understanding what you're saying. It's your responsibility to be clear and to make sure that they understand. Don't blame them for not understanding. You make sure that they understand what you're saying. And lastly, remember your facial expressions and body language. Many times we don't have a poker face or able to to keep our face from showing our emotions. Remember to keep that in check. Remember, what is my face saying in this moment? What is my body saying in this moment? Am I using my hands a lot? I remember a few years ago in one of the presidential election debates, Hillary Clinton was walking forward, and President Trump came up behind her. Candidate Trump at that time came up behind her, and she was speaking to the audience, and he was kind of looming behind her, almost in intimidating stance. And so, in that moment, I'm not sure if he was aware this is what my body language is saying. Maybe he was, I don't know. But in that particular moment, you have to remember, what is my body saying right now? What am I flailing my arms too much when I talk? What am I saying? So remember all these things when it comes to communication.
I'm telling you, your body language and facial expressions go a long way. And you can say the same thing two different ways. You can say it the same way, but if you say it with a different body language or facial tone or facial expression, uh, it will have a completely different meaning than if you said it without all the extras. So be wary of that. That is very, very important. And that all, again, blends into your teamwork, right? So you have to work with other people. Unless you can find something that you can do independently, most of the time you're going to work with a team. So it's very important that all of these things factor in. How do you communicate to them? How you deal with them? It's just vitally important. So how do you as a group fulfill responsibilities and accept accountability? How do you personally do that? How do you do it as a team? And where does that line blur? Right. So these are things you have to be cognizant of. How do you promote strong working relationships? You don't have to be best friends with everyone you work with, but you definitely have to have a strong working relationship. So you have to develop that. That takes some time, and that takes a little bit of giving and taking on both sides. You and your coworker have to learn each other. Maybe I whistle at work, and that's how I get things done. And Antonio can't stand it. How do you guys do? How do we work it out? Do I have to just keep ruining his day by whistling every day? Or does he get to a point where he eventually snaps and fusses? These are things you have to figure out. You got to figure out how you guys can work together to get the job done. And how do you have clarity in missions and goals? What are we here to do? Again, you're not at work to make friends. That's not the important. That's not what you're paid to do. It's not the important part of your job, but it helps to have a positive relationship with the person that you're working with. And so most of the time, if you stay focused on the mission and the goals and why I'm here, that's going to help alleviate all of those personal issues. We're here to move these boxes from over there to over here. Let's see how we can work together to get that done. And that's how good teamwork happens.
Exactly. So building on your ability to work as a team, you've got to make sure that you try to implement some moments where you can rally to a common goal. Jimmy talked about this just now by being very vocal and clarifying what the goal is. Rally around that goal to make sure that you're all pulling in the same direction. You need to make sure that you build up some trust and respect amongst your team. Make sure that you all trust one another and that you respect one another as well. Some of the most difficult teams to work on is where there's no trust and no respect. And so that leads to many encounters that you shouldn't see in a work environment. Um, be open again to suggestions and feedback. That's of the utmost importance. And then lastly, make sure that you're recognizing good work. When someone does something well on their job, make sure that you recognize them for that. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being a part of this team and being something that adds rather than just subtracts or takes up space. And so people, I know I feel appreciated when someone recognizes what I do well. And so folks are the same way. They love when someone can say, "Hey, I saw what you did, and it was really good."
Notice how all of these things kind of blend together, right? So there's communication here, there's leadership here. Like all of these things blend together to be a good employee. All of these soft skills, they aren't compartmentalized. They all work together in one way, shape, or form to make you a good employee and understanding that this is the mission, this is why we're here, and to get the job done.
Yeah.
Time management. Yeah, that's a very good soft skill to have. Again, not just in your professional life, but in your personal life. How do you manage time? In 2020, our lives are just busy. And I guess everybody's stuck in the house right now, but before we were stuck in the house, we had 1,000 things to do. Things have slowed down now, and you really look at it and like, how did I do all the things that I used to do? Time management is so critical in our lives because every day there's just more stuff to add. There's always more on your plate. So one way to manage your time is to be organized. Uh, Prioritize what's most important and do those things first, and then things that aren't so important, they'll fall by the wayside. Having an organized life will help you tremendously. Maintaining your focus on tasks, again, understanding why I'm here, what I'm here for, staying focused on that task and not anything else, is the most important thing as far as managing your time and trying to stay organized. And being prepared for the unknown because it's going to happen. As we talked earlier, change is inevitable and you never know what's coming down the pike. But if you have a more organized life and if you've got things handled in a timely fashion, you'll be prepared for little hiccups because there's going to be hiccups. Things are going to happen. Um, you know, some people I know like to run things right up to the last minute. If they need to be somewhere and it takes them 7 minutes to get there, they're going to leave with 7 minutes to get there. Right. And then what happens? They get stuck at a red light or there's a car accident or there's anything like that. You're not prepared for the unknown. But if you know that some place that you have to go takes you 7 minutes to get there and you leave with 12 minutes to go and give yourself a 5 minute cushion, then you're prepared for that unknown should it occur. So again, that's all part of just being prepared and being organized so that you can manage time more effectively.
So building on your time management skills, it's important to identify time wasters. Find those minutes in your day that are being wasted and what causes them. Find out, okay, do I waste too much time watching TV? Do I waste too much time on social media? What am I wasting time on? And figure out how to identify those and change those behaviors. Use a bite-sized approach. So break your projects into small steps. Instead of trying to do this entire big project by one specific date, break it down. Figure out, okay, I need to do this piece by next week. I need to finish the second piece, in 2 weeks. Make sure that you break down what you need to do. Remain flexible in the face of adversity. Many of us, we have seen ourselves be, more flexible now than we've ever been before. So it's important to remain flexible and consider different methods to achieve your goal. And then lastly, make sure that you establish a personal culture of due dates. And so this is your culture. Have due dates in your culture. Figuring out, okay, I need to finish up my resume by this day. I need to, complete my cover letter by this day. I need to complete the job application by this date. Give yourself due dates for specific things that are going on in your life.
Great points. Definitely. I hate when people waste my time, so I'm very cognizant of not wasting their time and not making them wait for me. So, that's just little things that you learn. Time management is huge. And so what happens? Things happen in life and you got to adjust. And how do you adjust? Well, that's called problem solving. And so problem solving is a critical component in being a great employee, and probably one of the most important things that employers want to see when you discuss with them your skill set. How do you handle when things just don't go the way that they're supposed to go? Because it's just going to happen. So the best thing to do is you have to be able to identify why it happened, what caused this, so that maybe you can prevent it from happening again. Maybe you can backtrack to that specific point in time or that particular instance or root cause, and you can make changes there so that you maybe won't encounter this problem in the future. Uh, how do you explore how to handle it? Is there just one way that you want to handle a situation, or do you look at multiple problems and different ways that you can handle that? Maybe you get input from your coworkers on different ways and collaboratively you work that out and figure out the best way to solve these problems should they arise again. Um, and so the idea is that if this happens again, it doesn't create a problem for yourself or others. That's the whole thing. I mean, nothing in life is perfect. There's going to be things that come up, mishaps, and how do you deal with them? And then most importantly, how do you learn from that and work towards preventing it from happening again?
Exactly. That's the biggest thing, preventing it from happening again. Um, when you're trying to improve on your problem solving skills, you've got to make sure that you're able to clearly define problems in your current position or life. That's the best place to start. We all have problems that arise every day. And so work on your problem solving skills by solving your own problems. You got to make sure that you are able to understand the problem clearly. And once you do that, then that'll lead to better solutions. Make sure that you're practicing making informed decisions. And an informed decision is basically just using data and time to make the best decision. List out as many possible solutions as you can. Even bad ideas can lead you to the right answer. And so make sure, list out every single solution that you can think of. Even if it sounds dumb, put it on the page. The reason that you want to do that is because that helps you to think through different levels, different scenarios. And then lastly, believe in your own ability. You want to make sure as a problem solver that you believe in your ability to diagnose the issue and figure out how to provide a resolution to this problem or the issue.
Excellent points. Definitely true. So, as I mentioned earlier, the most important thing about these soft skills is how you present them to an employer. Um, and so, here's some various ways to do that. One is a cover letter. cover letters are one of the underused aspects of job searching, and people just don't do them. I don't understand why. They're very easy to do. You can Google cover letters. You can Google cover letter for warehouse professional. I don't care whatever your industry is. You can Google a cover letter that's going to give you a lot of what you need in a cover letter. But most importantly, especially when you're trying to find a job, it's important to know what they want to know about you. So you read the job description very carefully and learn about the company through the About Us page on their website so that you know exactly those things that they want. Maybe they talk about teamwork. Teamwork is very important to a company like Amazon, and they might mention it a lot. So when you're building your cover letter, as you're writing your cover letter, that could be something that you lean on and focus on. So the employer will get a snapshot of, teamwork is very important to you, and in that way they'll favor you in these opportunities and bring you in for a job interview. Of course, you want to do it in your resume as much as possible. You can have a separate section in your resume that's just soft skills or skills. Sometimes you'll hear people mention transferable skills. That's the same type of deal. Skills that you can just take from place to place to place and not necessarily your hard skills. So you might have a whole section on your resume with just those types of skills that you might want to list out. And again, just because you have that doesn't mean that you don't tweak it. You go and you look on their company website and see what it is. Say, oh, they want teamwork. Oh, I don't list teamwork as one of my skills. You might want to remove one of those bullets and put that in there. So it's important to understand that. And you also want to integrate it into your job responsibilities, right? So I work with a team of 20 individuals to move boxes around the warehouse. Mention it that I work, and teamwork is an important aspect of my job. So you might want to list it as you're listing your responsibilities. In addition to that, when they bring you in for the interview, you want to already in your mind have stories in place. Oh, if they ask about teamwork, I'm going to tell them about how the time I worked with Jeff. And Jeff and we came up with a new solution to moving these boxes around. And so you have to understand, again, do a little bit of legwork up front, do some research and find out what's important, what's valuable to them, and then plan a story around it. Be ready to communicate how you were effectively using teamwork or whatever the particular soft skill that's important to them. Have those stories ready to go. Don't wait for them to say, well, tell me about how you work well with others. And then you've got to come up with something off the top of your head. Already plan that so you can have these stories ready to go and you can use the best story. You might then get out of the interview and say, oh man, I could have told them this story. This was a better story. So plan ahead and have these stories ready to go so that way you can communicate that to the employer. Again, communication, all these things weave together. It's great that I have all of those skills, but it's not so great if I can't disseminate that to the employer and they can see that I'm a good team player.
Exactly. Great points, Jimmy. So just as a wrap up, guys, make sure again that you prepare, do your research, use a coach. We've got coaching abilities here within our agency. So if you can't find anyone around you, we have folks who can help you with that. Know what you want to work on. That's one of the most important pieces. Know exactly, what skill you want to work on. Don't be aloof or, kind of scattershot it with this. Make sure that you're very intentional. And then to apply, make these changes daily. It's okay to start small and use a checklist. All those things are important. Lastly, assess. Ask if others have seen a change. Look at those folks around you. Ask them, have you seen a change in my time management skills? Am I getting places, on time now? Am I still as late as I was? And lastly, be truthful with yourself. If you can't find anyone else around you to talk about change, exactly when you changed. You can tell looking at your past behavior and looking at where you are now, if you're still the same or if things are changed. So be truthful with yourself on what you can do, how quickly you can do it, and implement some of these changes.
Very good. Very good. And again, we can help you with that. In a second, I'm going to put up a link that you can reach out to us where we can help you prepare these things. It's good to, as Antonio mentioned, to have a coach. someone who's been through this, or someone who can work with you as you're trying to make these changes, as you're trying to implement these changes, as you're trying to communicate these changes to employers as you're ready to find work. And so, as I mentioned before, it's Tuesday and it's 1 o'clock. And if it's 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's MOED Facebook Live on the ones. Today, we did a job readiness workshop, but every Wednesday, we have our virtual recruitment sessions with Katanya and Bill. They have employers who come on, and you can hear right from the horse's mouth what they're looking for, skill sets that are important to them, what they value at that location, and how you can apply for jobs. This is all in the intent of helping you find work. So tune in on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock for our virtual recruitments. And then on Thursdays at 1 o'clock, we have Job Club. Job Club is an opportunity for us to communicate to you guys exactly who's hiring, what the requirements are, and how you can plug into these job opportunities. We have that every single week. Tune in at 1 o'clock. Someone will be here to help you with all of these different things to help you to find work. And so if you need some help and some assistance with your resume, with interviewing prep, referrals to employers, technical job application assistance, training information, just general career guidance, reach out to us. We're working remotely, but we'll still be here to help you. That's the link that you want to send a request to, and someone will reach out to you and help you. So that way we can utilize everything that you've been taught today about your soft skills to help you to get these jobs. And so with that, I want to thank you, Mr. Logan, for joining me today. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. I saw your comments, and I welcome them every single week. I thank you for that, the support. Just as a reminder to everyone to register to vote, request your ballot, so make sure you can have a say in our democracy. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday or Thursday, right here, the same place. I was going to say same bat channel, but I'm going to show my age. So tune in so we can help you with all your employment needs.
Thanks, Jimmy. Everybody have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.